Hey YouTube, how's it going? Jose here. I want to make a quick video on this week's tournaments. Wanted to put this out on Monday, but got a little backtracked, so my apologies for that. But we're going to go ahead and put it up on the screen here for the Ursiiday Pocket Weekly number 6. As you can see, Pikachu Raichu deck won, and that's really cool because I didn't expect this to be the strongest version of Pikachu, but it looks like it came out on top. Before we look at the deck list, I do want to compare it to last week's Pocket Weekly. Go ahead and look at that. As you can see, actually the top 4 is a little bit more diverse versus this week. You got 2 Pikachus and Mewtwo. Cool thing is that in weekly number 6, this past weekend, we did get a Wigglytuff EX Arbok deck in the top 4, which is really cool. But one thing I wanted to kind of point out about the metagame for each one is if we look, Mewtwo share is down almost 10%, and Pikachu usage has gone up. And if you look at kind of just the top 32, Pikachu did really well this week compared to last week. As you can see, you add these up, you're looking at about 15% 15% or so win the top 32 for Pikachu. Now you're looking at what you have 31% plus the 18% plus the 3%. You're almost looking at 50% of the decks in top 32 were Pikachu decks. So Pikachu is definitely on the rise. Mewtwo not as much in the top 32, as you can see, went from 40% share last week to 20% share this week. So Mewtwo usage, at least for this past weekend, was a little bit on the decline there. Even in the whole metagame as a whole, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look. Yeah, actually, no. No. Oh, yeah, yes. So Mewtwo was about 31% share of the whole metagame people that joined, went down to 23%. So yeah, when looking at it as a whole there, guys, Mewtwo usage is a little bit down, Pikachu usage back up. So really interesting how that's looking out to be. Greninja only 1 made the top 32 versus 3 last time, so that kind of sucks. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top decks now. Really wanted to look at this Pikachu Raichu deck. I think it's pretty cool that they're not running Magneton. I'm just a little bit curious on how the math works, because you want to one-shot a Raichu, or a Mewtwo, Mewtwo EX with the Raichu, you need Giovanni. However, if you also want to get all the energy on him in that same turn, you need Lieutenant Surge. So you can't really use both supporters in the same turn. I'm wondering if sometimes you just opt to, power up the Raichu naturally / Pikachu naturally. Or maybe this Giovanni is just to swing for things for 100, like Kangaskhan or other Pokemon that have 100 HP. So interesting choice. Like I'm thinking to myself, you put Giovanni in here so that Raichu can swing on the Mewtwo. You can't really use Lieutenant Surge and Giovanni in the same turn. So I'm just kind of questioning how that works. Either way, I'm sure there's a good way to kind of make that happen. However, I'm not familiar. Don't really play Pikachu decks often. So if anyone in the comments knows, really why Giovanni's in here, Giovanni's a great card. So helps you pick up KOs a lot of the time. So it's probably just in there for that reason. I was just kind of thinking, like, is it used for Mewtwo EX? That's the Raichu deck there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this Wigglytuff EX deck, which is another one of the big players here. One of the most interesting decks. And as you can see, they just run the one of the Jigglypuff and the Wigglytuff EX. And they run the Arbok and the Weezing lines there with 2 Kogas, 2 Research and 2 Sabrina. So no Giovanni's in here. X speeds and the Pokeballs, no potions. Really going for the consistency here. I really like this deck. I think the one of Jigglypuff kind of can bail you out of situations. Same with the Wigglytuff EX. Must be just a little bit hard to choose what scenario to power up the Wigglytuff versus the Arbok. So you kind of have to make that decision early before you maybe draw into the certain evolution lines that you need. But really interesting deck nonetheless. So I think that's pretty much the biggest takeaways from this week's tournaments. Look at the Greninja deck. It's basically the same Greninja Articuno deck that I've featured here on the channel. We can see that Charizard kind of didn't have as strong showing as it did last week. That's really it. I don't see any other spicy decks here. We have another Weezing Wigglytuff, and that's pretty much it. Another Greninja made the top 64, which is pretty cool. And then Machamp Persian again here. But that's it for this. I did want to take a look at some other decks really quickly, just to show you guys some spicy decks that I'm here that I'm seeing here on PokemonMeta.com. And I'm looking at top decks, first place decks, and I saw this really cool Alakazam deck that got first place. I wanted to share with you guys because it's essentially taking kind of the core of the Kangaskhan with Greninja. We've seen it with Mewtwo EX, but now it's putting the whole Abra Alakazam line in there, which is really cool. So I really can't wait to try this deck out. I'm definitely going to try it out on our channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below what decks you've seen that you really think would be fun to try. So I want to go back here, and I also wanted to look at some other decks, some other first place decks. Just wanted to see if there's any variation in the Wigglytuff decks. No, they're just running the one of. This one is running 2x speeds. I think the other one was too. Not really much variation. This one is actually a Wigglytuff plus Executor here, and it's only running one of each Executor, which is really interesting. So this deck would probably be a lot of fun to try out as well, but I don't have a second Wigglytuff. Anyway, guys, this is going to be it for the meta-analysis for this week. As we saw, Pikachu was up in usage, Mewtwo a little bit down in usage, Charizard not as strong of a showing, Greninja not as strong of a showing, Pikachu Raichu variant really taking its place on the top there. Guys, let me know what decks you want me to use in the future. Let me know what you think the next meta game shift is going to be. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.